Hello friends, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Danny and today it's time for another Battle of the Booktubers vlog. If you aren't aware of what Battle of the Booktubers is, I will have the announcement video for the championship round linked down below along with season 1. This is a championship round, so we have already gone through 4 rounds of 4 booktubers to determine who the champions were, and now the champions are battling it out to see who is the best recommender of books. And today I have another champion who has provided 2 more recommendations, and that's what today's vlog is going to be focused on. So we will be looking at the Justice of Kings is the top choice for this booktuber, and Along the Razor's Edge. Those will be the 2 books that are featured in this video. I will have timestamps down below so you guys can browse at your leisure. I realized in editing, because this is actually after I have filmed all of the clips, I realized while editing that I forgot to do a prediction for this particular booktuber. I said it kind of in one of my little clips, but I didn't go at the end and set my prediction and say that this is absolutely what I'm predicting. So I'm just going to say right here that I am predicting that these books were recommended by Sam. I am giving that because of the fact that both of these are darker reads and I know that Sam likes fantasy horror, and so not that these are fantasy horror, but I feel like they have vibes that Sam would like. So that's my prediction. We'll see if it's correct, and let's move on to my thoughts on the Justice of Kings. Here for my first update of Battle of the Booktubers. I'm not sure what order these are actually going to be posted in, but the clip that you are seeing is my first Battle of the Booktuber championship round update for you guys, and I am starting with the Justice of Kings. So I just got through 20%, or really, actually I'm closer to 30%. I think I'm at 27% the last time I checked my Kindle percentage. And so far, I'm enjoying it. I'm just kind of getting my bearings. This is kind of a chunkier book, and it's a very dry world, which I don't hate. I just think that sometimes drier kingdoms, the way that the world building goes, you kind of are in the dark a little bit. There's a lot of kingdom politics that we've come across so far. We are following Helena. Yeah, Helena, who is the clerk for a Justice of the Empire whose name is eluding me at this point in time, but you know that he has the power of the empire to enact laws and keep the peace, keep the justice of the kingdom going, and she is kind of his assistant. He also has some powers that have been described. He has necromancy, and he also has the voice, which I think all justices have. It is essentially a way to compel people to give you answers that they don't want to give. And that's kind of cool. His necromancy we haven't seen in action yet, and it's alluded to that it is a skill he doesn't like to use because it has, I don't know if it's physical ramifications on him, mental, because you're talking to the dead. I would imagine that wouldn't be a fun experience. And then we also know that there are other justices out there who have different powers. Like they could potentially talk to animals. That was one of them that they mentioned. And I'm not going to remember some of the other things. But so that's kind of big and vast in the kingdom. But then you also have 3 different imperial branches. And that's the part I'm a little unclear on so far. We have the Order, which I think are the people who are in charge of the justices. You have the Templar, who is the people who are like the religious aspect, which is a big part of the kingdom dynamics. And then you have the Emperor, I think. And there is some turmoil going on there where the Order might lose their power because the Emperor is losing faith in them. And yeah, so the justice that we're following has been traveling for the past 2 years that we know of with Helena. And they just travel to all these different cities within the empire, making sure that the laws are being upheld by those citizens, fining people if not, making sure that people come to justice if they've broken laws and things like that. And we've followed them to 2 places so far. One of them is Rill, which has some bearing on what happens in the rest of the kingdom, probably because the justice that we are following pisses off a member of the Templar, I think. He is a person who is very much has righteous fervor, is what I'm going to say, for his religion. And because he gets mad, he ends up causing some issues further up the food chain that I think is going to have some pretty big ramifications for the kingdom. And we follow them to the town. I'm not going to remember the second town's name. Is it Galen? I know that there's like a river next to it. But anyway, we follow them there, and there has been a murder of like a high lady, like a noble. And the justice is asked to come in and investigate. And while investigating, there are some things that have happened that aren't typical of an investigation. And I'm liking it so far. It's very involved. And so there have been some times that I've had to go back and re-listen, because I am reading this immersively. So I'll go back and re-listen to a chapter to make sure that I'm understanding, especially like the kingdom politics, like the 3 imperial things. I think I listened to that 3 times, and I still am not sure that I exactly know what's going on. But I do like Helena and the relationship between, it's her, the justice, and then I don't really know the other person's, Bessinger, I think is his name. I don't really know his purpose. He seems like maybe a guard of sorts. He's trying to keep the justice safe. And so that has been an interesting dynamic to see how the 3 work together, and her backstory, because she was originally a street urchin and the justice took her in and educated her essentially, and is allowing her to be paid and be like a worker of the empire, like a respectable position that she could potentially move forward in. And you get to hear her thoughts on whether or not she wants to do that. And like feeling grateful for something, but also not knowing if you want to continue with it, or if you want to go down someone's, like a path that was chosen for you instead of choosing it yourself. You have those discussions within her character as well, which I really appreciated. So yeah, that's kind of what I think so far. I am enjoying it. I don't think I'm loving it yet, but I do think it has potential. So if I'm going to give you like a guess, I would say that this is probably going to be a 4-star, like a 4-star range book, but it has potential to be a 5 if I continue to get some elements that kind of pull me in. I don't see it dropping into the 3s just because of how it's written. I feel like it is going to keep my attention and pull me along in this kind of gritty world with these characters. So I can't imagine that it won't at least get a 4, but you know, books surprise me all the time, so we shall see. I wanted to pop in and give you guys a quick update on my thoughts so far. I am currently 71% through The Justice of Kings, and I had a hard time stopping because something just happened that I really want to know what's going to happen from here. The story has gotten to the point now, and I won't give you specific details, but it's gotten to the point now where you know that something really bleak is going to happen, and there's foreboding and foreshadowing throughout the storyline. We are getting, I didn't realize this at first, but the person who's telling the story, Helena, is telling us the story from the future. And so this is kind of like her I don't know if it's her memoirs. I don't know if that would be the correct way of viewing it, but it's her telling the story of what's happening in this time frame. And so there are little things that she will say that will tell you, like, if only we knew what we know now. It's a little bit breaking of the fourth wall, where she's telling you that whatever just happened has a huge impact moving forward. And I really like that type of storytelling. I know that not a lot of people, or I shouldn't say not a lot, but I know some people do not like that because it kind of breaks the tension of the main character. I obviously know she didn't die because she's telling the story. And so there is that, but I still think it's really, I think it's done really well because it's only the one character that we're getting her perspective. So everyone else is fair game as far as like bad events happening. And some of the things that have happened are very intriguing. I have really liked the necromancy aspect of the storyline. We actually have gotten our first glimpse into what that looks like. Beforehand, it was just something that was talked about. It's very taboo and people, you know, didn't really know what it pertained or what it entailed because no one there aren't a lot of people who can do it, and there especially aren't a lot of people who want to witness it, but we have actually gotten to, as readers, to witness necromancy and work. And what happened during that scene, I am intrigued. And that's just such a small glimpse into the story. The story is very much bigger than that, but I like those little intricacies, getting to know the characters and what they have to deal with, why there has been like this almost ominousness surrounding the necromancy. I like that. There also has been a little bit of espionage at this point in time, which has been fun to see, to be able to look into how Helena problem solves, and also with knowing that she's in the future telling the story, her looking back on her younger self and telling you about the mistakes that she's made, and being able to reflect upon the joys of youth, but also the flaws in yourself whenever you don't know what's to come, and, you know, hindsight's 20/20 type of a thing. I really have appreciated that as well. So I'm excited to continue. At this point, I'm still thinking this is going to be between a 4 and a 5 star. It would have to do something devastating at this point to be lower than a 4. So we'll see if that happens. And yeah, so I'm having a good time. I have finished Justice of Kings, and I wanted to give you guys my final thoughts and updates and my rating. I had a lot of fun with this. It's definitely a darker story than I was expecting. It's very gritty, and I kind of like it. Although I like grimdark stuff, so it doesn't surprise me that I would like a storyline that is a little bit darker. But man, in this last scene, we had, I mean, people's arms getting chopped off, people almost drowning. We had different magical powers that we are concerned about at this point. I won't give you more than that. We have this massive battle that's happening for reasons, once again, I can't share with you, but I found it a lot of fun. It's very fast-paced, and the political dynamics of the kingdom and how much we're understanding about how things used to be versus what they are now, and how people perceive justices, like different factions, whether or not they respect them, fear them, both, or, you know, are trying to overthrow them. Like it's an interesting thing to look at, all the different dynamics of the pieces that I feel like are on this gigantic chessboard from Helena's perspective, and especially with her background, which I'm pretty sure I said that in one of the vlog clips in my introduction to the book and everything, but she used to be kind of a street urchin, and so her learning and becoming educated to be a justice herself someday, but, you know, right now she's the clerk of a justice, seeing both sides of the spectrum with her and how everything's going. Also, her thought process of the evolution of some of the characters that she's been around. So like her thoughts on the justice that she's traveling with, her thoughts on Bessinger. I don't know why I don't remember his name. I think it's Bessinger. And the changes in some of the dynamics of the kingdom since she has been a part of it. It's been a really interesting place to be. I also think it's a really creative way for this author to have introduced us to a kingdom, because instead of following the actual justice who knows what's going on, knows the history, we are looking at someone who is a little bit of an outsider. And so it doesn't feel forced when she's asking questions. It doesn't feel fake when she doesn't know an answer to something, or it doesn't feel like she's being purposefully stupid for our sakes, I guess. You know that she is a little naive just because of her background, but I think that a lot of it's believable. So yeah, I liked this. I am really excited to get to the second book. I'm hoping that I can continue with it this year. My final rating for this, I think, is going to be a 4.5. There were some little pieces throughout the way. I did think during certain parts of this that it could be a 5-star, but I think that it just missed the mark on certain things. but it could definitely get there. Like, I feel like in the next book, when we get even more information, I think that's the only thing, that's the thing that's holding me from getting it to a 5. One, vibes. Like, I didn't have a 5-star vibe the entire time, but also I do feel like there were some breadcrumbs that were given that we don't quite have the answer to, which is just because it's a series. So yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm excited to continue. This is a good recommendation. I'm on the second recommendation from this booktuber, and that is Along the Razor's Edge by Rob Hayes. Now, this book, actually this author, I'd never heard of before, and this author is actually recommended to me twice on my Battle of the Booktubers list. Depending on when this comes out, that might mean that I've spoiled just a little bit for you in my upcoming vlogs. So I kind of went into this blind. There are a couple of books within my recommendations that I really just didn't even look up. I looked up, obviously, if I could have access to them, but otherwise I just kind of went with it. And I was like, okay, these are the books that you guys want me to read and you think I'm gonna love, so let me dive in. And to give you a general synopsis of what's happening, I guess, currently I'm on chapter 14, and there are 38 chapters total. I'm reading this on Audible, and I hate the fact that Audible doesn't tell you like the percentage that you're at. The last time I checked, I know I'm past 20%, but I'm just gonna say that we're gonna go, like, I'm gonna try and do thirds. And so that's why I'm stopping at chapter 14, I guess. From what I know so far, we have one main character whose name is Ascara, and she is the one telling the story, which I do like. I like a narrative where we are sometime in the future and our character is looking back on her life or their lives and recapping for someone. I'm not exactly sure who, we don't know any of that yet, but she is kind of telling us the story of her life. And she starts when she is very young. I think she's 16, maybe 16 years old. And we learn that she was in an army. She's a sorceress and can control magics. The magic system in this storyline has also been really interesting. It reminds me a little bit of Mistborn, where you have these source materials that they will ingest, and then that gives them something to work with, some type of power. There are 22 different powers that they can have, and our main character, Ascara, has 6 of them. And it does talk through her even younger childhood. I think she was 6 when she was taken from her home and thrown into a magical school to learn her skills. But we start the story when she is 16, and she has been at war for her country. I think her country's name is Iran, but I'm listening to this on audio, so I'm not exactly sure how that's pronounced, or not pronounced, but how it's spelled. And her country surrenders to whoever they were battling. I can't remember the name. And so she ends up becoming a prisoner of war. They throw her in these caves, which are called the pits. So she is a prisoner. She is made to dig dirt and mine things every day. She doesn't know what purpose she's doing this for, and her captors are not very nice to her, but she does know that there is a certain limitation for what they're allowed to do to her, because I think they're wanting her to come to the other side, essentially. And so the powers at be have told the people who are in charge of her that they are not allowed to kill her, which is not the case for everyone who Ascara is surrounded by. There are lots of people who are a prisoner in this world, not necessarily prisoners of war, that are treated really horribly in these situations. And so we follow her as a young girl living through the pits, but then she also is flashing back to these times at the magical school because, well, not just because, but there is a friend of hers who is in the pits with her. His name is Yosef, and he has been with her since she was 6 years old. They grew up at the academy together. They formed kind of a familial bond. They even sleep in the same room. They sleep back to back every night. They have a very long-term, very loyal friendship that they're having to wrestle with a little bit because of the circumstances that they're in and this kind of dire situation that they're in. Now, she talks about how she kind of breaks the fourth wall every once in a while and will tell you about something that's happening in the future, or that will happen in the future. So some event will happen and will jog her memory, or she will say something and be like, well, we know that everyone dies in the end, or something along those lines for, you know, whoever she happens to be talking to, which I do like. I like getting those little breadcrumbs. I know some people that's not their jam because it almost breaks tension, especially because she's telling her own story. People are like, well, obviously she's not going to die because we know that she's still alive sometime in the future. That doesn't really bother me, especially when the stakes seem so high and we know there are some people around her that do die. And while she has certain feelings about it, she doesn't really seem super remorseful. She does mention multiple times that some of her actions were really dumb and hot-headed. She's a very stubborn person, knows that she's a very stubborn person, and so some of the things that she has done as a child, she talks, there was a line at one point in time where she says that trying to second guess a decision that she's made in her past is just as stupid as trying to predict the future, because you can't do anything about it. You don't know what would have happened if you would have changed your mind, and it's not worth your time thinking about it. Which I like those moments of thought where you're wishing that, you know, you're having a regret, but then she's like, no, I have no regrets because I don't know what it would have happened. It could have ended up worse had I made a different decision, or it could have ended up better, who knows. I am enjoying this so far. It does remind me, the narrative reminds me a little bit of The Name of the Wind, which I enjoyed. The vengeance storyline that we have, because she does talk about wanting to take vengeance on all these people that have done these horrible things to her and her family and her country. That reminds me of Rage of Dragons, which that makes me feel like Sam is the one who recommended me these books, which I already kind of had an inkling that Sam would have recommended me The Justice of Kings. And so I think that's going to be my prediction for this, but we'll see if my mind changes as I continue this read. But I'm hoping I'll be able to update you guys around 60% of the book or 70% of the book, and then update you at the end. So I will see you in a little bit. I'm back. And it's only been a day, but I have been moving at quite a rapid pace while reading along the razor's edge. And so I wanted to give you guys an update before I continue with it tomorrow, because I feel like I'm going to finish it tomorrow. So this book was a very, very fast read for me. It might take me the next couple of days because I know tomorrow is quite a busy day for me, but just in case, I wanted to stop and talk to you guys. I am at the beginning of chapter 25 and I'm still enjoying it. I think that what I said before about this comparing it to The Name of the Wind and the narrative style, where you have an infamous character who is telling their life story, still holds up. It's definitely continuing along that. It's a little bit darker than The Name of the Wind, because I would definitely say that this is grimdark, at least so far. That's what I would say. Our character is 100% morally gray. She does have a lot of discussions with you about these horrible decisions that she's made. She will flat out tell you that she knows that in certain circumstances she made the morally wrong decision, but she just doesn't care because she knows that she would do it again. Which is kind of wild with some of the things that happen. I have really enjoyed the character relationships, and particularly her friendship with Yosef. We've had some interesting developments with their past and something that happened in, like, I don't want to say the present timeline, but the timeline that she's focusing on as she's telling her story. We have a development between their characters that kind of put them a little bit on the outskirts of one another. And so you're dealing with that mentally, but also some of the decisions that she's making currently. And I'm not sure how that's going to work out. And I'm a little sad at what's happening currently. So we'll see how that works out. I'm not going to be mad, like, if it goes the direction that I think it's going to go, but it does make me sad, which I just think that shows how well the character relationships were written, that I do have a feeling one way or another of how I would like it to go, and that I feel a little bit of sadness for how I think it's going to turn out. I do also really enjoy the magic. So in the past storyline. So we have the storyline that she's telling us, and then we're getting flashbacks to when she's in magical school, and she's like from 6 to 11 years old, I think. And the types of magic in this are very interesting. We just learned about sources. It is very similar to Mistborn, where they ingest something, and that's how the sorceries or the sorceresses and sorcerers get their magic. But the difference is that this ingestible, and you kind of knew this from the first little section of the book, but I think it makes it a little bit more apparent in this third, that the ingestibles, they don't actually go away. So in Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn trilogy, they drink metals, and as they use the magic, the magic is burned away. In this, that doesn't happen. They literally eat. They're described as like pebbles, and they vary in sizes depending on the amount of magic that can be derived from them. So like how powerful the source is. So some of them are described as like the size of oranges. And the sorcerers have to swallow them, and they can't, some of the sources can't remain in your stomach as you're sleeping because it has adverse effects. And so they talk about what they have to do because of that. And, but, you know, that's interesting in and of itself, but the different types of magics have also been interesting. They have like the norm. So they have the medical magics where you're healing people. They have magics that allow people to transport across distances. They have fire magic, ice magic, like all of your kind of standard ones. But one of the ones that I found really intriguing so far is an ability to transport things to another world. Or not another world, but like it's like the underworld. Like you can kind of go where all these monsters lie, and they can be conduits to bring those monsters to our world. So it's not even that you're transporting things to their world. You are able to go in, contact these like monsters, and bring them into our realm. And that's been very intriguing. And there's a side storyline that we get that involves one of these creatures. It's very creepy, and I'm excited to figure out where that goes. And yeah, they have like all of the different characters that we learn about as they're learning the magics. Different ones have different abilities. I think I said this already, but there are 22 different sources, so 22 different types of magics. And our main character, Eska, gets, is it Eska? Iskara is her name. I think they call her Eska. But she has 6 different attunements. So she has 6 different types of magics. And she, in training, spars with some of the other people who are learning the magics as well. And so seeing that has been a really fun process. I like magical schools. I like the battle scenes and how people use their magics against one another. They talk about, though, the difficulty of fighting someone who has the same attunements as you, because you not only have to use your magic, but you have to, the people who have the same attunements as you can manipulate the magic that you are using. And so that becomes kind of a game. Something else, speaking of games, that I've enjoyed in the storyline is they do have these kind of games of chance that they play down in the pits, because what else do people have to do whenever they are toiling away their lives, digging dirt? They play games. And it's been fun to hear the author describe all of these different games. Some of them are very familiar and others are brand new to me. And I do wonder if there is some type of merch out there that you can buy these games that they play in the pits. Specifically the game of Trust, because I just think that it was really fun. And I don't know if that game already existed before this book or if that's something that the author made up, but I think that kind of added, it makes the book more personable when you can imagine these people who are living this really horrible life, just finding a little bit of peace in friendship and triumph and gambling. It makes them seem more real. So that's my update for today. Like I said, I think I'm going to finish this tomorrow, but it might be the next day, but I will make sure and update you. So far, I'm really enjoying it. I would say if I was to predict my rating right now, it would probably be a 4.25 is what I'm thinking it's going to be. But the ending could push it up. I can't imagine it would push it down, but we'll see. I am back to give you guys my final thoughts on Along the Razor's Edge by Rob Hayes. And I have to tell you, full transparency, this has been several weeks ago that I finished this book. I thought I did an outro clip and apparently I didn't. So I'm here to give you guys my final thoughts. But because it's been so long, I don't remember where I left off on the last vlog clip. And since it's the end, I can't really share too many details with you anyway. I will say that I liked how fast-paced the ending of this book was. I also really enjoyed the risk that this author took with something that happened at the end. And I won't be detailed at all, but there was something that happened that was absolutely devastating to our main character and just in general, I guess to the reader is what I'm trying to say as well. It was something that was very heartbreaking, and these are really dark. This is a really dark story. This is a land of hardship and people who are going through it. And so not everything's going to be hunky-dory. And yeah, I really appreciate that about the ending of this storyline. I also liked where the book left off. I felt like I have enough answers to be satisfied for the moment, but I also do want to pick up the next one to figure out what is the next journey that we're going to take with our characters, because we have... It ended in a place I didn't expect, but it does make sense for where we started in the story. And I think the author did a really good job of leaving certain elements that we still want to continue on with. So yeah, I'm impressed, especially for a book and an author that I'd never heard of before. I will definitely be continuing this series at some point in time. I'm going to try not to continue series within Battle of the Booktubers, you know, between January and July, so you guys can't see on my Goodreads, if you are friends with me on Goodreads, that you can't see which books I'm picking up, so you don't know whether or not I enjoyed them. But, you know, the moment you've all been waiting for, what was my rating of this book? I'm gonna rate this a 4.5 star. So whoever this booktuber is, they're gonna be the one to beat. This is my first vlog. I don't know if it will go up as my first vlog, but my first set of 2 books that I'm reading, and both of them were 4.5 stars, because I had Justice of Kings, which is the first book that I read, and then now I have Along the Razor's Edge. These 2 books are similar, but also very different. I will say they are similar in the dark tone. They both have gritty worlds. They both have people who are struggling with certain things in their own right. The characters themselves are very different, because we have in Helena, we have a character who is constantly questioning whether or not she wants to be a clerk. Does she want to do this for the rest of her life? It's very comfortable, at least in certain regards, as far as money goes and food, and you know, she doesn't have to struggle for what she makes and what she eats every day. But she also doesn't have the freedom to kind of do what she wants to do. And here we have Ascara in Along the Razor's Edge, who is very confident in who she is. At least she appears that way on the outside. She is the person who kind of takes the reins because no one else will. And I like both of these women. I think that following them in both stories it was a good time. So I'm excited. I'm excited to continue both of these series. And yeah, I will be looking forward to seeing what happens with these characters in the days to come. But for now, I must leave you guys and start my next vlog. But I think this was successful. So whoever this booktuber is, thank you for these recommendations. For those of you watching, if you have read either of these books, let me know your opinions down below. Do you think that they're really similar? Do you think that they're really different? Which characters do you like best if you read both of them? Or if you just read one, tell me what you liked about the book. For those of you not feeling chatty today, just leave me a black heart, because both of these are definitely dark fantasy books and I love it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you have a lovely evening, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!